Yo, what is up everyone? And today I'm going to show you the best, most OP, most meta DPS build ever. No, really though, this is the DPS template for current endgame. It uses the most optimal and efficient armor pieces that are currently available. Um I made about 4 or 5 different variations of the build. That you can be used with about almost every single melee weapon, with very few exceptions. But for the most part, this is as good as you can get with just having a DPS template put together. So let's get right into it, shall we? So with this build, you will have 7 attack, 7 crit eye, 3 crit boost, 3 weakness exploit, 3 speed sharpen or whatever you want to slot in, 3 crit chain, or chain crit I should say, and the option of 3 Warbug Whisper, but it solely depends on your weapon, your talisman, and your preference, because for this sword and shield build, I prioritize slotting in 1 slugger for slotting in the extra Warbug Whisper, so it comes down to preference. Let's talk about the armor that we're using. The weapon, first off, the weapon you're using, you want at least 1 level 2 slot, ideally. You probably want purple sharpness. The Royal Order weapons are really nice. Alternatively, you could use the Kimura weapons because they have purple sharpness, a level 4 slot, and a level 2 slot. So in the long run, those will probably be the weapons to go for, because the level 4 slot will be good for slotting in a double attack or double crit eye. Deco. Lunagear and helmet. Let's talk about this helmet. This is the most optimal helmet currently for DPS because you have 2 crit eye on it, and you have 2 level 2 slots. Alternatively, the Malzeno helmet is similar, except it swaps 1 crit eye for 1 Warbug Whisperer. So if you prefer Warbug Whisperer, you can use that. But if you prefer more crit, you want this. Now, we are using 2 pieces of Archfiend for the chain crit. So with 3 levels of chain crit, you can get up to 15 extra attack. Most weapons can keep up this combo with at least 5 hits. The main exception is, I would say, Greatsword. Sadly, chain crit and Greatsword don't go well together at all. But for about every single other melee weapon, including Hammer, believe it or not, you can actually keep the damage bonus from chain crit active. So chain crit is probably recommended for most melee DPS builds, except Greatsword, sadly. So I'll post a specific Greatsword build later, because Greatsword doesn't really use chain crit. So 15 for attack, just as long as you keep up a decent combo, is pretty nice with chain crit. So these are 2 very important pieces. So this is the most efficient way you can get chain crit, and they also have good slots as well. So yeah, Malzeno braces. Now, these only have 2 attack, and 1 Warbug Whisperer, and a 4 slot. These braces are the 1 piece that can be swapped out for a few other pieces. For instance, if you're using Charge Blade, you'd want to probably use the Renpelos hands, because they have technically more value as far as the skills and the slots. But this is the 1 piece that can really be swapped out. Archfiend Coil, of course, for the train crit, and has good slots and good skills on them. And everyone's favorite best in slot Greaves. The Ingot Greaves, 2 attack, 2 crit eye. Sadly, there is nothing really that beats these boots, and you get these boots really early, and there is nothing that beats them. As far as decorations you will need, just make sure you're fully stocked up on crit eye, crit boost, weakness exploit, and even attack, because depending on the talisman you have, you will need multiple crit eye or multiple attack, at least 2 to 3 minimum, and a couple of crit boosts and a couple of weakness exploit. Now, the thing about these endgame builds is for you to get that 7 crit eye and 7 attack, you will need a godly talisman. So, in this case, we have a 3 attack and a 2-slot talisman. So now you may not have this talisman for this specific build, but if you don't, what you can just do is swap to a weapon with an additional 2-slot. So, like I said, the Kimura sword and shield, the Kimura weapons, Furious Rajang weapons are really good as well, and you can make up for not having the greatest talisman. Now, this template works for most melee weapons, but the thing is, you will need a good talisman. Now, even if you don't have something like 3 attack with a 2-slot, if you are, say, using a switch axe, as you can see, we have the exact same template. We're using the Furious Rajang switch axe, so we have an extra slot as well. But we also have 3 rapid morph. So where are you getting this rapid morph from? We have a really godly talisman. So, for you to get the most out of this template, you're gonna want to have a really good talisman, which I know is a lot to ask for, but like I said, this is the most endgame of endgame DPS build template. So if you don't have a decent talisman, you'll probably be missing an attack or 2. But that's okay, because the rest of the template is solid. And that's what matters really, is the consistency of the template. Now, if you're using something like, say, longsword, like I said, the braces, you can swap them out. So for longsword, you just want to swap out to the Barrier hands for the quick sheath, the maximized crit eye. Technically more efficient than these. These hands are technically not the most efficient hands, like for just raw DPS, but for what we're trying to get here, it's what we got. But it does have a 4-slot, so note that once double attack and double crit eye decos come out, you can slot it in here. So it'll make it a lot easier to get 7 attack and 7 crit eye. So, you can use this for switch axe if you're using Insect Glaive. If you're using Insect Glaive, you would just need a talisman that has 3 power prolonger. Or like 2 power prolonger and a 2-slot or something, you know? You want to put your support skills in the talisman ideally, so you don't have to mess with any of this. Because ideally, like, I'll post a regular Insect Glaive build later if you can't, if you don't have a good power prolonger talisman, because I don't have one either. Because if you're using a regular Insect Glaive build, you're probably going to want, the Astalos coil, which has 3 power prolonger, in which case you're going to lose your chain crit. So you want to put your support perks either on the talisman, or in the slot, and slot it in as decos. You don't want to mess with this template unless you really need to. Now, in the event that you don't want 7 attack, there is an alternative. Now, you could potentially only lose 1 attack for 3 Divine Blessing, which is actually a really good trade-off for 99% of players. Because what is 1 attack when you can have 3 Divine Blessing? All you need to do is swap out the Malzeno gloves for the Sharite? No, there's a thing over the E. Sharati? Someone tell me how to pronounce this, please, in the comments. These gloves, they have 2 level 2 slots and 3 Divine Blessing on them. They're really freaking good. So, you can sacrifice 1 attack for these amazing gloves. To get these gloves, they're from a follow request, one of the later game ones. I forget which one, but it's from one of the later ones. Like I always say, do your follow requests. So, this is the template. It works with any weapon. Like, for instance, the sword and shield build I was using here, it works identically for hammer, using using hammer. I have my 1 level of slugger, which is what I prefer. I prefer more, but I'd rather have the attack. If you don't want the slugger, you can swap it out for 1 extra Wirebug Whisper. If you want 3 Wirebug Whisper still, and the extra slugger, you can just use a different weapon with more slots on it. Good to go, like the Kimura. So, and if you don't have a good talisman, so you can get 7 attack if you sacrifice a little bit of support for all of these builds. But as long as you have a semi-godly talisman, it will not be hard to get 7 attack, 7 crit eye, chain crit. The works. But either way, tell me what you think about this template. It works for almost every single melee weapon, with few exceptions. So you can swap out the hands here to make other melee builds work, like Charge Blade. And I haven't done a lance build yet, but we'll get there. Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed this build, this template, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, or not. Find me on twitch.tv/Amos05. Tell me how bad my hair looks. It's terrible, honestly. You'll laugh or cry. But yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely evening or a lovely day. Till next time, good night and happy hunting.